Today we are going to talk about a science fiction short film, The Secret Number. It all started when Tomlin was just a child. His mother killed an old man in a car accident, and the jelly beans held by the old man were scattered all over the road. After growing up, Tomlin became a psychiatrist, and he was treating a very special patient, a mathematics professor, Professor Ersheim. It turned out that the professor believed in the existence of a number called Bleem between the numbers 3 and 4. This claim is contrary to common sense, and he is put in a psychiatric hospital for this reason. But Tomlin soon discovered that the professor had won the Fields Medal, which is considered the Nobel Prize in the field of mathematics. He also had no history of mental illness. This puzzled Tomlin. The next day, Tomlin visited the famous mathematician once again, and as the professor still insisted that there was a number Bleem between numbers 3 and 4. Then Tomlin gave him some jelly beans, hoping that the professor would use them to prove the existence of Bleem. The professor initially placed the 3 jelly beans in order, but had difficulty determining the position of the 4th. The professor also looks anxious and helpless. After seeing this, Tomlin tells the professor that Bleem does not exist. But the professor suddenly snaps. He believes that something is preventing him from proving the existence of Bleem, and he asks Tomlin to let him continue his research. He only needs a pen and paper to prove the existence of the hidden Bleem. But as a psychiatrist, Tomlin was worried that the professor might harm himself with the pen, so he turned down his request. But the professor is able to spot a marker pen on the floor. He stealthily picks it up, and before he leaves, he grabs a handful of jelly beans with him. After that, the professor was placed in Ward 304. Tomlin looked at the jelly beans scattered on the table and recalled the accident from his childhood, where he had seen similar jelly beans at the scene of the accident. When Tomlin got off work that night, he noticed a significant delay when the lift passing through the 4th floor to the 3rd floor, which made him feel very suspicious. When he got home, Tomlin started listening back to the recording of his conversation with the professor over and over again. In the recording, the professor mentions about multidimensional space and told Tomlin that physicists believe that there exists at least 7-dimensional space that humans cannot perceive. He also mentions the reason why humans can only perceive 3-dimensional space, apart from the limitations of human senses. But above all, it's because of the limitations of human mathematical capabilities. But if he managed to identify the hidden number Bleem, he would be able to understand the other dimensional space and even build a theoretical model of time traveling. But the professor's statement makes Tomlin even more puzzled, so he goes to the bar to let out some steam. At this moment, the peanuts in front of him suddenly burst open by themselves. At the same time, Tomlin spotted the professor writing mathematical formulas on the window of the bar. He then chases after the professor and arrives in a quiet alley. Here Tomlin saw a TV report about the car accident he had experienced when he was a child. The old man who had died in the accident had no ID in any information, and the sheriff could not do anything about it. Right at that moment, the phone alarm rang and Tomlin woke up in his bed. He realized he was just dreaming, but he then received some terrible news on the phone. It turns out that the professor has miraculously disappeared from Ward 304, and the ward's wall is covered in mathematical equations. Tomlin finds out that the professor seems to have succeeded in proving the existence of Bleem. To Tomlin's surprise, he also found the cap of a marker pen in the room. There are 3 jelly beans left on the table as well. One of the caretakers picked up 1 jelly bean and ate it. But Tomlin was shocked to find out that there were still 3 jelly beans on the table. At this moment, Tomlin's childhood memories suddenly come gushing back. It turns out that there was a marker pen that is missing a cap at the site of the car accident, and the old man who got hit. And lay next to the scattered jelly beans was Professor Ersheim. The Secret Number is a 2012 science fiction short film based on the science fiction novel by Igor Tepper with the same title. It tells a story about multidimensional space. Tomlin, the psychiatrist in the film, initially doesn't buy into the mathematics professor's ideas, but as the plot progresses, Tomlin's attitude begins to shift. After seeing that the caretaker has eaten 1 jelly bean, but there are still 3 left on the table, Tomlin realizes that the professor has managed to found the mysterious Bleem. He uses the secret number key to unlock the hidden multi-dimensional space. The professor even manages to travel back in time to Tomlin's childhood in hopes of changing his fate of being locked up in a mental hospital, but he seems to have no precise control over the point of travel, which leads to him being run over by Tomlin's mother. The biggest mystery of the film is how the professor was able to travel back in time after successfully deciphering the Bleem. The key to this might be the multi-dimensional space that the professor repeatedly mentions. He believes that there are many different dimensional spaces in the universe, but humans are unable to perceive beyond 3-dimensional space, just as ants are unable to perceive 3-dimensional space. It is the same as why humans cannot fathom higher dimensional space, and they cannot identify the Bleem which is hidden between 3 And 4. The Bleem is the key to understanding the multidimensional space, and it is only by proving the existence of the Bleem that humans can understand the other dimensions. At the end of the story, the professor finally managed to crack the code on the wall with the stolen marker. He has thus mastered the mathematical rules of higher dimensional space and calculations, so the professor demonstrates the Bleem to Tomlin on the table with jelly beans. The jelly beans on the table remained the same when the caretaker ate one of them. This seems to indicate that the professor has been able to control the dimension of time. He also uses this to travel back in time to Tomlin's childhood, which led to the car accident, and the story begins and ends with the car accident, forming a perfect loop. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.